everyone. James, how's it going, buddy? So I got Josh on his way. Received a voicemail message from him saying that he's doing 100 on the highway to get home. So we will be with him probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. Gonna let him get settled and stuff. But I still wanted to come on at the exact time that I said, 10:30. So I hope everybody had a good Father's Day weekend. You know what? Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I'm one of those guys that didn't get to see their kids on Sunday, which was yesterday. And you know what? Yeah, it had its moments. You know what I mean? I'm sure most of you are going to agree that do you let it conquer you, or you try and just find some balance? So I talked with a lot of people from the channel Father's Truth, and you quickly realize that you're definitely not always by yourself. You know what I mean? So, and it's true. Like, you're right. Father's Day to most is a trigger, because we're put in that situation. You know what I mean? That court system gives us PTSD, and that's a trigger. It's Father's Day, because a lot of us aren't going to be seeing our kids, and it's disheartening. It is, because our kids don't deserve this. You know what I mean? It's Father's Day. We only get one day. That's just one day. And for most of us, you can't even get that phone call. So believe me when I say that I understand. I was talking to a buddy of mine today. He received some disheartening information, and every time I talk to somebody, I look for the commonalities in what they're going through compared to either what I've gone through or what other people have gone through. And it all comes down to it's a mental illness. It really is, because there's way too many similarities when you're dealing with parental alienation. But it's also child abuse, because no matter what, you're still taking it out on your kids. Our kids are still being used as pawns, and it's not fair. Like, we know that's not fair. And exactly, like, look at James. He's a veteran. He's been to Iraq, and the stuff that you've dealt with just on your own stuff, man, is ridiculous. It changes a lot of people, and it's very, very tough. That's why I do a lot of meditating. I really do. Whether people believe it or not, it does absolutely work. And it's not an easy thing, especially when you're dealing with, the laws that should be helping us in these situations, but they're not. They're ignored. And it's not just here in Canada where I am. It's everywhere. James, you're in the US. I'm going to be speaking with Josh. He's in the States. A buddy of mine that I was speaking with, he's in the UK. Another person I was speaking with, they're in Austria. It's unbelievable, and this is everywhere. There's some countries that don't allow this, but the majority of them, it's a cash cow, and we all know that. It really boils down to, when are we ever going to stop worrying about a dollar and start worrying about human life? And it's frustrating. It definitely is. But there's hope. There is, because this movement is growing by the day. Just for myself, I've just aligned myself with Veterans America that are dealing with parental alienation. They reached out to me looking for global help, and that's exactly what I'm looking for, is global help, because this is everywhere. Like, this is a serious problem in Canada, but it's also a serious problem in the US. It's also a serious problem in South Africa, Australia. Like, it doesn't stop. So that's what we need to do, is exactly, it's a global issue. And it is, James, the stories are always the same. They always are. I am an observer, so I observe people, and anybody that personally knows me knows that that's why I'm quiet a lot, because I observe how people react or how they act. And man, it's everywhere. Parental alienation is just parental alienation. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but you can call it brainwashing if you want. You can call it alienation. You can call it mind control, fear. It's all the same. And you're right, T Cushy 123. You're absolutely right. It is very challenging to find men's support groups, especially here in Canada. They're almost nil. There is one that's major, but they've changed their values, and I'm not going to get into it, but they've changed their values, and that's one of the things that I would like to see done, is some sort of global committee that gets together and we deal with these issues. Like, that's what I'm trying to do here in Canada, is create a foundation that can help men in these situations. And I do understand 100% that this happens to women. I'm not being biased in that sense, but this is a rampant problem that is happening everywhere, and the main targets that we're not seeing is our kids. My kids don't deserve this. Your kids don't deserve this. So, it takes groups like this, and it takes discussions like this to get the support out there that we need, get the awareness out there that we need, so that we can all band together. I've been trying to do this for quite a while, and you see a lot of, I hate to say it, but you're going to see a lot of fake people out there. Once they get into it, they lose their morals, and they lose their value. Dollars become more important sometimes, and that's never going to happen with me. I am not a materialistic person whatsoever, and again, the closest people to me 100% know that. So I really do want what is best in this court system, and that's really to take it down and start all over, because that's the only way that it's going to ever change anything or fix anything that we want. Because it's not just parental alienation. There's false allegations that are all over the world. You can just say that somebody did something. You can just blow on them, and you're going to get charged with sexual assault nowadays. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's so much out there in the media, and the problem with the media is that they only show what they want us to see. We all know that, or the smarter people know that. So I appreciate you finding my page and my account as well, because this, we all need to get together and band on this. Like I say, for 4 years I've been saying we need to unite, we need to show compassion, and we need to understand if we want to make change. Those are 3 important keys that we need to focus on, especially when you're dealing with, you might as well call it a business. It's a corporation. That's exactly what it is, the family law system. It's a corporation. It's money filled, and money generates it. And that's why we're in these situations. So, if there's anybody out there that, you can share this video to, Josh is on his way. We'll get started. But I know that Father's Day would have been definitely difficult for a lot of men out there. On Saturday, I spent a lot of Saturday talking to a gentleman that was, he had suicidal ideations, and it was tough, man, because a lot of these things that he was saying, I completely 100% understood. Because I've been there. I've talked with people that have been there. And I've also talked with people that they're not here anymore. And that in itself is a mind fuck. And our court system is just okay with these things. Men are dying or committing suicide every day, and it's rampant in Australia. So, literally, when do we say enough is enough? Hey, Brenda, from the other room. Brenda's my friend that has helped me out numerous times in my life because she knows exactly the person that I am. She knows the dad that I was and still am. And she also knew my ex-wife and myself, so she's been a huge help. And like I said to, I believe it was Katino Mobley last week, that sometimes you have to find those no matter what people that, no matter what happens in life, they'll be there for you no matter what. And the same with you. Anything that you can do, you'll do it. There shouldn't be any questions asked. So, again, with Father's Day being hard and everything, finding the right people to be around at a time like that where you're not going to see your kids is exactly what you need to do. Because again, when you're dealing with, the stuff, parental alienation, or being falsely accused and you can't see your kids, then you're dealing with a narcissistic person that has narcissistic traits and doesn't care about your feelings. That's just, that's the blunt of it, is that they don't care about your feelings. If you were to die tomorrow, they wouldn't care. They might put on a show that they cared, but deep down they don't, because they only care about themselves. And it's the same thing that, a lot of the excuses that you'll get from people like this is that, but I'm doing it for my kids. But you're not. But I am. No, but you're not. There's no excuse for it. There never can be. There just never can be an excuse for that type of situation to ever happen to a child. Because I actually know what it feels like to go through those things. So to falsely accuse somebody of that, to me, excuse me, is the absolute most vile thing that a person could ever do to another person. And we gotta change. We have to change. You're right, James. It is. I can tell you for 100%, in my case, that's exactly what it was. It was 100% revenge and control. It's a big surprise to most that, I separated from my ex in March of 2017. But these false allegations and everything did not happen until August of 2019. So 2.5 years later, I was okay to parent my kids. I was okay to have them at my house for sometimes weeks on end. And even 6 months prior to me being hit with the silver bullet, I had my kids for about 6 weeks in a row while my ex-wife was recovering from a back surgery. But then I'm portrayed as a monster a few months later. So you're exactly right, James. It's about revenge, it's about jealousy, and it is about control. Because once you leave that cycle and you leave that energy, They don't have that control over you anymore, and you can shield it. But the problem is that this court system allows evil to come out of it. And then you just don't become the target. Your kids become the target too. Your family becomes the target. Your friends become the target. Your work becomes the target. Everything becomes the target. I know. I've been there. I am there. But the difference with me is that I won't give up. That's not happening. So I'm going to end that because I've talked enough, and we're going to get Josh in here. I think I did that right. Brother, how's it going?
Going well. How are
I'm
you?
pretty good, brother. So you made it.
I was eating some breakfast.
Oh, there you go. You got some energy, bud.
Slash lunch slash dinner.
There you go. So anybody that's joined or that was just watching, if you don't know, this is Josh Powell. He's two-time NBA champion with the Lakers, founder of 21 Reasons to Give Foundation, and you also have a new podcast coming out called The Relationship Matters with Chanel Scott. So just kind of tell us a little bit about why you wanted to have this discussion. I obviously know that you got some family court issues that are happening, and you know, some people connected us, thought that we should have a conversation. So yeah, it's all yours, Josh.
I'm just here to serve, and I think it's always beautiful to have meaningful, impactful conversations. And it's also beautiful to meet new people and build relationships and bonds, and I think we don't do that enough. The way that we grow up, we typically stick to our ways, and the circles that we have, and we go and do the things that we deem where we're comfortable. So I think that it's a beautiful thing. And then on the flip side too, there's a narrative in my community, where we feel like only Black people or Black men go through these types of situations or issues. And I think that, it gives people a different perspective, and it also kills a lot of these narratives and different things that are going on out here, because it's not a color thing when you're in court. You know what I mean? And I know from my own experience, I remember a year and a half ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I was in court for a situation, and the case before mine, there was a white gentleman who was going through some issues, and he was ordered to, pay child support, and he was ordered to pay the legal fees, and he literally paid up on child support, but because he didn't pay all of his legal fees, they locked him up right there on the spot.
Wow.
And I was just like, yo, no one, like, he couldn't have sent a text out, no nothing, because they just asked him, like, well, you were supposed to pay $1,500. You only paid $100. He was like, ma'am, that's all I could do. I literally made sure I paid up and took care of my kids. Well, that wasn't the agreement. I was like, my goodness. So I say all that to say, I think that this is a beautiful conversation. At the end of the day, it's not to bash mothers or bash fathers, because it's not just, there are so many people that are going through their respective situations. But it's just to shine light on things that are going on, and we have to remember who are the most important people in these situations, which are the kids.
That's right. Yeah. And I 100% agree. Regardless of race, gender, all of that, it all boils down to our kids. Like, is this the future that you want to bring your kids into, that, you know, it's possible that one of these things could happen to them? And that's, you know, a constant running in my head. And that's what motivates me to try to make change, because
Right.
I don't have to go through those things. The same thing with you. I've talked with thousands of fathers over these last 4 years, and I hear horror stories all the time. These things are not, they're not just in Canada, they're not just in the US, they're everywhere. I talk with people from South Africa, from Ireland, from Australia. They all have the same similar stories that most of us have. And it's based off of that fear of the family court system. And I'm sure that you can agree that, you know, the family court system wouldn't be a system without our money. And that's what drives the system. And it's sad that it drives the system, because our kids are the ones that pay for it because of a dollar. And it completely can cripple somebody. Like, I've talked with many men over the years that they're not here anymore because they couldn't take it. And, you know,
Yep.
that fair, you know, and for us as men, it's very difficult to talk about these things. Whereas women, you know, there's a difference with that, is that they're more open with these things than men are. And I agree, man. Like, it's very important that we have these conversations. We get, you know, the awareness out that, you know, this is happening to our kids, regardless of what the vendetta is towards us. It shouldn't be directed at our kids. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that most people just don't realize, because they don't hear about it, or they don't believe that the courts can do this, you know. And I don't know how it is in where you are, but in Hamilton, Ontario, you know, a woman can just basically, or a man for that instance, can just walk into a courtroom and say this, that, and that, and boom, you got, you know, emergency orders. You can't see your kids. You can't go to their schools. You can't go anywhere, basically, and you have no idea when you're going to see them next. So, like, I don't know how it is there. If maybe you can shed some light on how that would work in a false allegation situation.
So the process in Atlanta is, anytime somebody brings something in to the court, you have to at least go 30 days. So they get like a temporary order until it's heard in front of a judge, whether they're going to dismiss it, do 6 months, a year, or whatever. It just depends on the situation.
Okay.
But either way, they're still granted, you know, what they seek to get, because going 30 days without no contact with your kids
Yeah.
on whether it's, you know, if it's true, then it's true. But most times, you know, these situations come from false allegations. And you know, it's just a lot of emotions and things like that that are involved in a lot of these things. And I want to raise a question, because, you know, a lot of a lot of, you know, mothers or a lot of fathers feel that it's justifiable. But, you know, you say you love your kid because we're setting up the system and the cycle, as you just said. But how would you feel if your child goes through the same thing that you're putting that parent through?
Yeah.
You know, again, for me, I don't want to make it just about moms, even though we're talking from our perspectives. But a lot of times when we're doing things, we don't think about those things. You know, we don't think about, what if it's your son and he's really doing his best and he's trying to be in the child's life. You know, he's giving it his all, and for whatever reason, he can't see the child, or he's going through, you know, whatever those moments are. And it's like, we don't think of those things, because at that time, the only thing that we can think about is the other person and how we're going to hurt that person, and putting them through whatever we're going to put them through. And it's unfortunate, and it's unfair. You know what I mean? And again, I want to keep this as neutral as possible until we start talking about specifics. But I also, again, before I pass it back to you, think of also the people, the men and the women, primarily the mothers, who actually are being abused, or their kids are being abused, you know, or they're actually going through traumatic experiences, and what did that say to them and their experiences?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there are people out here that are really going through it, and because you're having this moment or you can't get out of your way, you're just trying to make somebody's life miserable versus people who need those resources and need that help, and that's being taken away. And that's the other reason too. Like, and I know you mentioned, y'all will get an emergency hearing like that, but it's like for us, I'm in one situation right now. We still haven't gotten in front of a judge, and it's been over a year.
Wow.
And that's like, for these courts that so-called care about the kids, but there's no urgency on dealing with those matters. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't make sense. And it's like, until somebody who's in that position, who's the lawmakers and all of these people, until they're actually affected, it's like this will continue to go on and on and on.
That's right. Yeah. Like something that you mentioned, like the resources that are wasted because of false allegations. The amount of resources that it actually takes to go through the actual process of the investigation and then hand it over to the courts. Most times they're already in the court system. Then you got, child protective services that are involved. Most times then you're going to have to go for some psychological testing, maybe on both sides. Maybe your kids are going to have to go for testing too. You got, so many different aspects of that initial allegation that was completely false, being all those resources being wasted for actual people, like you said, that do need them. I have a friend, I'm not going to mention her name, but she reached out to me and asked me if she has a friend that is going through a situation and, should she press charges against them? And I said, like, 100% you should, because that's the biggest problem, is that a lot of these women that are in either domestic violence situations or they've been sexually assaulted, they're scared to come forward because of their so much of the false allegations that are actually not out in the courtroom, but they're out in the public. We've seen Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So, a lot of women are kind of, they don't know if they should or not. And it's not fair for women to have to feel like that, but it's also not fair to a man to have to feel like that as well. So there's got to be some sort of equality that has to happen within that court system, that they need better resources in the court system to deal with this, because judges aren't professionals in dealing with psychological trauma with, women that are actually been raped or have been beaten. They're not trained in those things, but they go by a report that really could be a biased report. We really don't know. So, there needs to be better resources inside the actual courts if we ever want to actually make a change in the right direction. That's, it's all about the resources that are wasted, whereas the resources should be put here instead. And I think it would completely balance itself out, and we not see a lot of these problems.
So to your point, I'd like to raise because I love playing devil's advocate, and I personally think that there's an understanding of what's going on in the courts, just like there's an understanding of the resources and where they're going. It's just the fact that people choose what they choose. The people that are making the decisions, even when it comes to your representation. Because the other thing, right, is on one end, a man will be judged for not doing enough, but then on the other end, people aren't realizing the strain and the toll that it takes to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. In one of my situations, again, trying to trying to protect as much as I can, but one of my situations, it cost me almost $500,000 to fight, and everybody. I don't care if you do got it. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And most fathers, you know, they're not in a position. A lot of people don't have those type of resources to be fighting a case to see your kid, or to try to change something, or get more time, or to protect yourself from, like, nobody has that. So when you look up and you wonder why men left and right are, you know, getting locked up and being in these positions, it's designed, it's designed that way. You can't sit up there and say it ain't. But then the foolish part is, like, you want a man to take care of his responsibilities. How can he do it when he's behind bars? You know, and how can anything, if we're talking about the kids, you know, what's going to benefit them? How can you not understand the importance and the power of these kids having, in a perfect world, both parents that are getting equal time, versus this whole primary custodial thing? Because it should be that way, where, like, unless one parent moves out of state or there's some other type of situation, then they both should be able to get equal time. Or even if the child stays with mom, but dad might do the pickups, and the child might stay with dad up until the evening when it's time. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to go about it. All this ish about studies and, oh, the child needs to be here and blah blah blah, but then they ignore the other studies that talk about fathers and the presence of fathers, and even studies that show if the father is the primary custodial parent,
Yeah.
what the
Exactly. I know.
successes of the child. And it's like, all of these things, but we have to understand, one of the biggest statistics that's missing and not spoken for is, if it's really about what's best for the child, then it shouldn't matter who's home or what's going on. There are situations where mom is what's best for the child. There are situations where dad is what's best for the child. There are situations where neither is best for the child, and a grandparent or another guardian steps in. There are situations where both parents are definitely what's best for the child. It's a case-by-case scenario.
That's right.
I can't sit up here and just stamp it and say, this is the way it has to be all across the board. I don't agree with that.
No.
And I also want to raise the fact that we always talk about co-parenting. There are people in relationships that are still being alienated from their kids. There are people that are in relationships that can't get on the same page. There's a lot that goes on in the house as much as out of the house.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
we have to kill that whole narrative in itself too, because so many times when you have this conversation with people, they're like, oh, y'all just so upset, you know, you feel some type of way and blah, blah, blah. Y'all just ain't in the house. And listen, I can also speak from personal experience. When I've watched the things that I've watched, when I've heard the things that I've heard, when I see how my own will treat me walking underneath a roof that I'm providing for, cut it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. I've been on every side of the spectrum. So we have to get away from that. Listen, I am not perfect, but one thing that I do stand on, and one thing that I can say, that if I was to have a proud moment, it would be, I'm present and I try and I give every effort.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna fail, that's okay, but at least you know that I'm trying my best while I'm failing.
That's right.
Because I know I'm gonna let somebody down.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation the other day, and I'm doing it again on this live. Like, I'm gonna disappoint somebody every day. The reason I was not present on Father's Day on social media was because, for one, I don't agree with Father's Day. I don't agree with how we're viewed. I don't agree with the whole notion. And my Father's Day, which I'm not gonna speak on, it was interesting. It was what it was.
Yeah.
Just another day, you know what I mean? And for me, I don't base who or what off of that or any other day, or off of other people's opinions, because I'll be the first to tell you I messed up, but I'll also be the first to tell you how much I love and appreciate. You know what I mean? And there is no perfect handbook that comes to parenting or being in relationships or being a husband or being a wife or whatever.
Yep.
It's only based off experiences, which is the other reason why it's beautiful that we're having this conversation, because it's two different worlds coming together. We're not even in the same states. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're in Canada, I'm in America. Like it's
Right.
and it's just to be able to build and bond, not on nothing negative, but just to say, hey, brother, you're going through what you're going through, so am I.
Yeah.
First of all, let's lean on each other. But secondly, maybe there's something I can tell you that can help you, and maybe there's something that you can tell me that can help me in my situation and how I'm getting through things.
That's right.
So that's
Yeah. And that's
why when we were talking about this, and I'm like, bro, we can't wait.
yeah.
You want to talk about it? It's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I had a beautiful night at service. I grew today. You know what I mean? I'm constantly working on myself and in my journey. And I was excited about the opportunity to build and to be able to show people, man, because you never know how these things can help anybody on here. And even though it's me and you, but maybe our stories can help change the mindset of the mom who's doing whatever to the dad, or vice versa.
Yeah. That's right.
That's the other thing. We don't want to leave no options out.
That's right, man.
Because that's the beautiful part of growth and how we continuously come together.
For
Shared
sure.
stories
Yeah.
is powerful. Shared experiences, anything, right? This is free.
That,
Nobody's paying for this.
that's right. That's right.
That's what makes it so beautiful and why we should be sharing more, because, you know, and then people be like, oh, that's messy, this, that. No, it's only messy when you're trying to do it to be hurtful.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? It's not messy when you're trying to do things in a way to serve and to help somebody. I don't want nobody to go through what I'm going through, right?
Yeah. I'm the same way.
And if we change how we view the things that we're going through, that's regaining your power back.
Right.
Because I don't have any hatred towards those that are in my life. I'm not a fan of what's being done,
Yeah.
but that's also my power and my gift, because I can be forgiving, I can be loving. If I got a phone call today and I was needed, I'm going to show up, because that's what's on my spirit. I don't let people dictate how I act or the way that I move.
Yeah.
That's the bigger message that we should get to.
That's
in
right.
my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So Josh, I pinned one of the comments here, Organic Lace Farms. I wanted to pin this and let's talk about this, because he's going through a divorce for a year and he's exhausted and he's close to giving her everything. So my first question for him would be, do you think that's the right thing to do? You know, do you honestly in your heart think that would be the right thing to do? Is, you know, like, what are your thoughts on that? What would you say to?
No, but because it doesn't. What he has to understand, it doesn't just stop there.
And that's it. That's it.
And
Like,
and to be honest, like when people are hurt, that's the one thing court shows you, man. Like you literally, and it's so funny. Drake had this song. I can't remember the exact lyrics, but it's like you literally share your life with a person. Y'all have shared experiences. You cried tears. You've been the person that they vent to, and vice versa. Hell, y'all done made love. You done seen each other naked. Y'all done, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all done went through all this stuff, and then one day you wake up and it's like, man, I hate this person. And granted, things happen over time, but we still make choices.
yeah,
So for those people who say, well, he or she cheated, or he or she did this, or he or she did that, did you decide to leave? What was your next decision? Your first decision should have been forgiveness, but your next decision should have been, does this serve me? Does this fit where I'm going or where I would like to be? Can they bounce back from it? Like,
yeah,
what is it that you did, and why is it that it caused hatred? Like, how do you, and I personally, and people might kill me for this or whatever, but I really feel like for those people that can say they love somebody 1 minute and hate them the next, it was never real from the beginning. That's my personal,
Yeah.
because I can still love you and be like, that person's not for me.
Yeah. No,
I
I
can
get.
still love you and say, I forgive you, go that way. Like, we just,
Yeah.
this doesn't serve, but I don't hate you. Like, that's so much power and that's so much energy that's given by having those types of feelings.
Yeah.
And I really just, in my heart, I really believe that people who can be so wishy-washy, it wasn't real and genuine from the beginning. It
Hmm.
was just a matter of time before how they really felt was coming out. So for that person, that brother, I hope you continue to fight for what's best for you.
Yeah.
Now, from a resource standpoint and all of that, be strategic in that too, because if you don't properly handle your divorce, it can be very costly in other ways too. Even if you give up what you say you're gonna give up, and you don't want to deal with that either. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to recover from not standing up or fighting because you're tired and you just want to get it over with. It doesn't stop there.
No, it won't. Yeah, it won't. So, that would be my advice. Exactly the same would be, you know, to fight. If it takes everything that you got, then like Josh said, at least you tried. That is the main thing. I would not give up. I would just keep going. Again, it's all situational based. So, you know, we're hoping that it doesn't come to that where you have to give everything or you're gonna lose everything. But think of your kids. That would be my suggestion. I fought and I fought as hard as I could. In the
But
end, I lost
but
everything. So
but I will say this to your point. In my first divorce, I filed, and I was willing to walk away and give up whatever. Because for me, I was like, it just ain't no way.
mhm,
Like, I understand the bigger picture and the grand scheme of things, and I know that the blessings will come back 10 times over. Like,
yeah,
but I can't stay doing this same old 1-2, and I'm I'm losing who I am. My mental and my emotional, my health is at stake. Like, I don't I don't think anybody should do that. You know what I'm saying, to themselves. So if you have to, and you're in a good space and place to understand what that's like to have to really, really start back over all the way,
mhm,
then do what you got to do if you feel like that's best for you.
yeah,
But initially, I was saying to him, like, just don't give up. You know what I'm saying? Because you, as the person and the individual, are valued. You're worth it. You're worthy. You're so much more to that, and you definitely should fight for you, and hopefully you get people that feel the same way about you that want to fight for you.
that's right. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And yeah, there's a quote that's basically like when you can't control what's happening to you, you control how you can respond to it, and that's where your power is. That's where your power lies, is how you respond. And again, like I said, it's situational. So one person's situation is going to be different than another's. And, like my situation where I'm not materialistic, so I don't care about the stuff being gone. And for me, home is not a place, it's not four walls with a roof. Home's people. And, I grew two people. They're in this world, they're part of my blood, and I don't get to see them. So for me, all the stuff, it didn't matter. If I lose it, whatever, I don't care. I'll get it back. Like you said, I'll get it back 10 times one day because I know that I'm doing the right thing. That's what I was trying to get at was if you think that you're doing the right thing, then you just continue doing the right thing. If you don't think that it's a good idea to give up everything, then don't. But if you don't care that you have to give up everything, then continue. Because that we know that the court system's meant to break you. So whether you fight or not, there's a very high chance that you're going to lose everything anyways. I know from personal experience, I still go through it, you know, but I'm not that person that is just going to sit on the sidelines, not get put into the game and watch us lose. That's not going to happen. If I can get tagged into the game and shoot the winning basket at the end to win the game, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, that's more people need to do that. It's, I think, a lot to do with the fear that's out in the world right now. It's rampant. It's everywhere. You know, I'm a huge believer in the universe. I'm a huge believer in energy, and you can definitely feel it when you have a strong belief, and you can definitely feel it. And man, you walk around that family courtroom, guys like me want to run the hell right out of there because the energy is so bad there. And until we start thinking about our kids and not worrying about all this outside interference, the external stuff that really shouldn't be bothering us, because everything that we have control over is internal. So, you know, why are we worrying about all this external stuff? And that's where this balance needs to happen in this courts, because you know, there's too many of us that are going through this. You know, I'm watching the comments and, you know, just the people in it. So, you know, it's not just me and you, bud. It's, you know, it's everywhere. So like, and I think also one thing that you talked about, I think the biggest problem with people today is communication. You know, and it's sad because that's probably one of the leading causes of divorce nowadays is just lack of communication. I'm guilty of it. You know, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm guilty of it. But those are lessons that you learn in life. You know, you have to take every experience as a lesson. If you don't, well, then you're just going to continue that pattern. You know, you're just going to continue it. You're not going to learn it, and your life is not going to get any easier. So communication is key, and that's why, like, us having this conversation is good communication. You know, and it's not just us having this conversation. There's other people having this conversation too, and for a lot of us, man, that's also even before the divorce, after the divorce, and then now in these circumstances, it's still hard for people to communicate. So, you know, we can have these discussions online, talk about these things, not have to feel ashamed about it. Like, and I think as another problem is that most people, and I'm probably sure you can agree with men, they feel ashamed to talk about this stuff, like especially with your friends. You don't want your buddies to know that, you know, you're going through this shit. You want to try and be macho and all that, but sometimes they need to hear it. Like sometimes your best bud needs to be like, hey man, like I'm not doing good right now. Like I can't see my kids. Can you like come over and just hang out for an hour? Like, but how often do we really do that? Very, very rare. So, you know, and I'm sure you can agree to, you've probably had lots of buddies that, you know, you want to, but it's like, you know, it's maybe not.
Well, I try to be as open as possible, and I want to go back to a point because I think this is good for fathers and mothers. Because for one, I want to salute every parent because it's not easy raising a child.
Right.
One of the most powerful things I feel that a parent can do if you're in this situation in regaining your power is to remove the guilt and the shame and everything else that you're feeling. If you know that you're making every effort, and sometimes, right, because a lot of times we feel like our fight has to be in the courtroom. Our fight can be in other ways too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got, you know, a parent that's withholding the child, you can write letters, you can do things, you can have all the toys and gifts in the world just be shipped to your house. So whenever they do come, they're like, where does this come from? This is every birthday I missed. This is every holiday I missed, or whatever it is, whatever your belief system is. There's so many different ways that you can go about fighting it without always having to go the courtroom way. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, and I just told my old lady this the other day, like, I'm I've been in the court, I've been in this system for 17 years because I have multiple kids and, you know, dealing with and being involved and just all of this stuff that's going on, and you do get to a point where you're just like, man, I'm tired. But nobody's gonna make me feel crazy if I decide, all right, cool, like I'm not fighting or even worrying about anything anymore, because if you want to do this, then understand what the outcome will be. And these are things that not only you have to deal with, but the child has to deal with, because there's an amount of responsibility. And I know people don't like talking about this, and I know that you'll have people that bring up the studies and say this and say that. But listen, I'm a firm believer, man, that these kids are not foolish in no way, shape, or form. These kids are extremely intelligent. They understand how to play whatever they need to play to get whatever it is that they want, right? Until one day they wake up and it's like, oh, I've had this revelation, and oh, my mom was really the one who was doing X, Y, Z. Oh, well, when my dad was saying this, he was really the one who was on some BS and not being honest, or whatever the case may be. I just encourage any mom or any dad, if you're in a situation, you're going through it, and the other parent is being hard and extremely difficult, and you feel yourself fighting, understand that your fight can be in another way, but let go. Sometimes letting go is more powerful than anything else, because to your point, right, you mentioned it, we're struggling. We're struggling financially. We're struggling emotionally. We're struggling mentally and physically. That's not okay. We're struggling mentally, right? And all we have is somebody to give us a pat on the back and say, oh, it's okay. I understand it's hard, but nothing's being done. So you might have to write your kid letters. You might have to document your own whatever. So when it gets to a point, you can hand them a CD and say, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
You might have to do some things in a different way. And this is just me giving people perspective, because who has, think about how hard it is now. And you got people that's making good money. Even if you're making $60,000 a year, that's good money. Who has 15 to 20 grand out of that 60 to be fighting somebody when that can go towards your household or go towards your child?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to keep doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when you got people that's not listening. This right here, the one thing I can say about social media is when you do get people talking, though, now it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because if the court's not hearing you, if nobody else is hearing you, I promise you, listen, a year and a half ago, I'll never forget, I jumped on Instagram Live. I talked about what happened in court. I was very, very open and honest. I had my documents lined up. I flipped the camera over and I told them the scenario. I showed them on paper what it was. I showed some other, like, bro, when I tell you I gave a whole dissertation about what I dealt with in family court that day.
Yeah.
First person that jumped on was one of my kids. She must have alerted mom, because then mom jumped on. Then my other kid jumped on. Then I guess mom alerted one of the other moms and she jumped on. It was like all of this on top of friends and family. It was like this live did numbers that day for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
But because of my honesty, I was being called out for having mental health issues and being, oh, we're going to pray for him because he's sick and he's not well, which is typically what people go to, that method, whenever you're speaking facts.
Yeah. 100%.
Whenever they're trying to discredit you and shut down what you're saying, because they don't, it ain't necessarily that they don't, it's about them. They don't want the people that's involved, those parties, to be hip to what's going on. And I'm sharing that with you because I've personally seen it, but when you start fighting in different ways, now you get people's attention.
Yeah. That's right.
Whenever one of my kids has a question and they are bringing something to me that's hearsay, oh, we got to address that.
Yeah.
Oh, and when we address it, oh, we're going to show some other things. But when I tell you, and this is the other thing I want people to understand, the seeds that have been planted and watered, the roots are so deep that even when you show a person and have whatever proof you need, they still will question you. That's how deep this is. And that's why I say every individual has to figure out what works best for them.
That's right.
This conversation basically shows and shares with people that there's multiple ways to skin this cat.
That's right.
For those people who feel like, I don't think I'm ready and I'm not that type of person, then keep fighting in the way that you're doing it, that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. I want you to do, you have to be at peace with it. I have made peace long ago in regards to some things because I'm understanding some of the battles that I have, and some of those battles really ain't for me to have. So I got to let that be.
Right.
I've talked about it openly on my page. I'm going to say it, for you and your followers on here.
Mm-hmm.
I have an oldest daughter that'll be 17 in 2 weeks, give or take. And we're going on 2 years since she has talked to me or I've seen her in person. The seed planting is so bad. I wish I had my bag down here. I have another little bag because she wrote me this 24-page letter. 24-page letter. But in the letter, it's not my daughter. It sounds like somebody I'm dating.
Yeah.
So that's why for dads, for moms, people that are in these situations, when you do the work on you, it gives you better understanding on how you need to move and how you need to help yourself. Because we can't keep focusing on the other parent. They're going to live their life. They're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It ain't no need to keep getting frustrated with them. You know what? Kill them with kindness. Tell them you love them. Tell them it's all good. Like, I don't want no problems. You got it.
Yeah.
Because that's why you got to do the work for you, because we can't keep allowing certain things.
That's right.
And the more I started to let go, and you know what? If you want to tell me, don't ever call me again, you're not significant in my life, okay, cool. I'm not saying that that's easy to hear or deal with.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to brush it off like that's just no big deal. What I'm sharing is, when you do the work and you're in the place that you need to be in, that means you understand that people are hurting. You understand that people are going through things, and you have to be the scapegoat.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I've apologized to all parties, grown or young adult. And if you're still telling me to this day that you still need time, you're still not ready, you'll never be ready.
Yeah.
That was one of the last conversations I had with my daughter, because on one end, you're telling me, or you're telling the world, that you're so happy. You're in such a great place. But if that's the case, then why are you behaving the way that you're behaving?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you have a conversation? Why can't you meet up face to face? Why does everything have to be on the phone? That's because of the programming.
Yeah.
I've never hit you. I've never put a hand on you. I haven't molested you or raped you, or I'm not some abusive drunk, like, come home smacking you up so where did all of a sudden now you're not safe?
Yeah.
So you were safe when a judge ordered sole custody to me years ago. You were safe when I cared for you for 13 years. I pretty much had you your whole life. I cared for you all of this time, and it was cool then, but it's not cool now. All because a person or people can say things, and then you're trying to involve yourself in adult matters.
That's right.
Right? This conversation can go so many places, but I'm just making sure I share with you, along with
Definitely.
those who are on here and viewing this, a lot of the things that we're going through. It just so happens to be two fathers. I guarantee you, if we invited a mom up, she would tell us stories and we would bond that way.
That's right. Yeah.
It's so
It's happening.
crazy how it happens, because it's like, even for women, the women who deal with the knucklehead men, they're just like us. Like, yo, stop. I
Yeah.
just want you to spend time with your kid. It has nothing to do, like let's just parent, right?
Right.
And then on the other end, for the dads that don't care, they get no pushback. They get nothing. It's just crazy.
That's right. Yeah. One thing that you mentioned was leaning towards like judgment. That's something that I talked with Catino about the other night, was judgment. And I think that, a lot of us just get judged. It doesn't matter what's out there. You're going to get judged regardless. If you're doing a good thing, you're going to get judged. If you're doing a bad thing, you're going to get judged. And it's, I don't want to place blame, but there's so much fear that's in this world right now. Like everything you turn on the news, there's fear. And that's why I don't watch news. I don't watch any of it. I don't contribute to any of that stuff. And it's fear, and I was basically trying to make a point the other day that like you can still be brave and have fear. Like that, there's this misconception that everybody's strong and you're fighting this, there's no fear behind it. There's fear every day. Like there's a misconception behind that, because you don't have to be brave not to face fear. That just means that you're facing it and you're moving forward. That's all it means. And we deal with this every day. It doesn't matter what somebody wants to say about no, I don't do that. I don't. There's fear everywhere. We face it every single day. It's just how you take that fear and just move forward. So, it's a big thing in the world right now, because you're judged all the time. Just for example, I went for a job interview a couple weeks ago, and I hope the guy's not watching, because it's possible. But he judged me. I got tattoos everywhere, and I think he thought my neck tattoo was a swastika, but it's not. It's it's a Nordic warrior tattoo, and I kind of explained, like, dude, like every single tattoo that I have is inspirational. So it was just immediate judgment from that, and I'm like, when I left, that I just kind of clued in, like, man, like you can get judged for anything nowadays. It just doesn't matter. And I know for a fact, in my situation, I was falsely accused, and it took me 16 months to fight these charges in criminal court. And they dismissed the case and exonerated me 4 months after that. And I was judged from the moment the allegations came out. I was just judged immediately. I was guilty before I was innocent. And then I actually changed that, because that's what I used to tell everybody, was that, no, you're guilty before innocent in situations like these. But once you're in a family court situation, it's like you're guilty, and then you're guilty, and then you're guilty, and you just keep getting guilty over and over and over. And it's all based on judgment. Like I said, I was like this huge monster for 16 months, but for 10 years that I was married to this person, I was the best father that she could ever hope to imagine for. And, that was splashed all over social media. So it was kind of like, in my case, she cried wolf too many times, and her journey and her path of destruction was there for everybody to see. So, but, then I became judged because I was the advocate that stood up to it. Our criminal court system tried to put a publication on me, and I didn't flinch. I'd come across this other father in the U.S. in Michigan that lost his boy because of I think it was drug use on the mother's side, but I won't get into the actual case itself. But he lost his boy after going to the court with concern, and because he was a father, they didn't listen to him. And then a few weeks later, his boy ended up passing away under his, suspicious circumstances at the time, I think. but he did have some, medical conditions as well. And this father stood up to the courts and everything, and they threw him in jail for quite a while because he went against it. And all he was doing was trying to give his son a voice because that voice was taken away from him. And these type of these situations that there's judgment everywhere. And he was basically kind of a guy like me, just normal guy, tattoos, and immediately judged because of it. And it's like, why are we still doing this day? And again, it's not even us. It's everywhere. It's judgment everywhere. It's not just about dads or moms we're judging in the news about what sex we prefer nowadays. I don't understand the whole thing. Like, who cares? But these are stories that for us, they don't get told. And for me, that's why I decided that, we have to have these conversations more regularly. A lot of people are saying, well, maybe you're going full force. And sometimes you have to go full force on this. If you want change, you got to be that change. So,
Beautifully said. I encourage people to watch the movie 8 Mile. 8 Mile is one of my favorite movies. For those that don't know, it's a movie about Eminem growing up in Detroit and things that he went through and, rap battles and all of that. The reason why I say people should watch it is because in 8 Mile, the very final scene when he's going against Papa Doc, he regained his power by exposing himself. It's the most powerful thing you can do because when you expose,
I just got goosebumps.
Your failures, when you expose your flaws, when you speak about how you've made mistakes, or you're trying and you're working to get better and you're doing all those things, you have removed the power from anybody.
Right.
Any man in your life, any woman, any relationship, any family member, any friend who's not a friend or whatever, by simply just saying like, listen, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes as a man. I made mistakes as a father. I made mistakes as a husband, but I'm still here and I'm working on me.
Right.
Oh, so-and-so told you I cheated or I did this or I did that. I sure did. And I'm apologizing for it. That wasn't right for me to do, but I'm working and I'm getting better. Yep. Oh, so-and-so said something about the way I disciplined you or did this. You know what? You deserve this discipline over here, but when I did it over there, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I shouldn't have cursed. I should have handled it a lot different. I should have came back when my emotions calmed down and had a conversation once I was in a place to actually talk. You remove anybody's power by doing that. I really encourage people to stand on theirs, to really be confident about the person that they are. Because last I checked, nobody's perfect. We all have work to do. We all have work to do.
Why we're here.
That's exactly why we're here, right? The goal is to make it back to where we came from. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, that sparks so many different conversations. And most importantly, it sparks so much more healing. And it ain't even about everybody else. It's about for yourself.
Right.
Because you're not allowing people to do the things that they've been accustomed to doing and what they've gotten away with in times before.
Yeah.
You can't gossip about me. I already know what I've done wrong. I've already admitted to what matter of fact, I've apologized to you 70 times over. So what, you gonna keep beating me over the head? Oh, you must be perfect. Well, what about this when I let that go? What about me forgiving you here? Right? I love myself more than that. Like, we gotta get to that point.
Yeah, I agree.
Where we're doing that, because on one end you'll have people say, man, you're not supposed to be talking about your personal business on social media. You ain't doing. Listen, I had a live I did a year ago, probably 13 months ago. I said, I've been quiet long enough. My family's not listening. The homie's not listening. My attorney's not listening. The judges ain't listening. The police ain't listening. I ain't got no other way to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, y'all just gonna get this smoke.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through what I'm going through, but guess what? You don't have to go through it. The 13 plus people, I don't even know how many of us on this. And then guess what? When you post it, somebody else,
That's right.
somebody's gonna be blessed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yo, I wouldn't have never thought they were going through this, and oh wow, I never thought of it like that. So by sharing, because there's the ugly side of social media, but this is the beautiful side.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
by sharing, by expressing, we're showing, we're leading by example.
That's right.
Right? It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to express the hurt or the pain or the trauma. It's okay to do those things.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't feel bad about any, because the reason you talk about your tattoos, I'm fully covered. The only thing that I haven't done yet is go above this area.
Yeah.
Like I really, in my world, I would really get the whole neck done. I'd have them coming all every which way.
Yeah.
But I started my tattoo journey because I couldn't express myself.
I hear
And
you.
that was something that gave me. I got me back because I was able to express myself because I've been numb for so long.
That's right.
I haven't been talking. I don't say much. I tread lightly because, I don't want other people to be uncomfortable with my presence or uncomfortable with what comes out of my mouth. That's dead.
Yeah.
I'm 40 now. That's dead.
Yeah. I hear you.
I'm doing you a disservice if I don't address what needs to be addressed properly.
That's right.
If I say I love you, then I should be able to openly express what, even if you're mad at me after I said what I said. But I'd rather you be mad at me for me saying something that I needed to say versus me be quiet, and that pain is a lot different.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. We talked a lot about how men feel and stuff like that when it comes to our emotions when dealing with family law stuff, and just in general, to be honest. Like it's not even directed at family law, to be honest. It's how men feel in general. And there's one thing that I wanted to touch on because it really had helped me was back in January of 2020. I was in the process of going through all of my criminal court dealings, and like I told you, I didn't have I had a publication ban that I was not following. So I got invited to a talk show in Toronto, and I did a talk show with Karen Carrington. And it just so happened that Kobe died the night before that this was going to take place. So what we decided to do that night was to dedicate half the episode to Kobe, and then the other half would be talking about my situation. And it really, before I was going to that, I had this whole talk planned out that I wanted to focus it on. But because of the situation that happened, and I really started thinking about how, he was judged. It's all going back to judgment, how he was judged in, there's things that happened in his life. And, there's a lot of people that still hadn't let that go right up until the time that he passed away.
Ain't that crazy? That a few people still bringing that up?
And it is crazy. And I feel that it's important to bring that up because he was the type of guy that it didn't matter. He had dreams that he wanted to accomplish, right? And that he had goals. But you can have dreams all you want if you're not putting forward what you want to accomplish in life. And he always did that. We all know that. And I want to read you something that he actually wrote about being judged on the false allegations, for example. Says it's important that image that's out there is the real image of who I am as a person, not something that's fabricated and not something that's gossiped. And I think that's very important for every single person that will watch this, is that no matter what is out there, you have that control whether or not you want to let it bother you or you just want to go and keep moving forward. And, you know, you're a perfect example of that. You're a complete role model when it comes to that. And again, it's, you know, the men that are out there that are being put in these situations, you have to look at men like Josh Powell, Kobe Bryant, even myself, that, you know, yeah, we're not perfect. We've made mistakes in life. But with every mistake that we made, we learned by those mistakes. Sometimes it might taken us 2 or 3 times to learn that, but we did learn, you know, and that's what we need to focus on, is with, especially with men, that you don't have to feel ashamed about having these conversations, because that's exactly, guys, how we learn, is we learn from each other. You know, I've learned a tremendous amount just by this conversation with you tonight about, you know, perspective on certain things that I should probably be focusing on more. And, you know, these are things that we need to continue with. And I know that you're now going to be starting your own podcast. I explained a little earlier about relationship matters and with Chanel Scott. So I know that's going to be informative, because now you're going to have both sides. And, you know, you guys, I can tell for sure, you're going to have those difficult discussions where, you know, maybe, you know, one opinion is different than another. And that's what we also need to realize is, you know, we're allowed to have different opinions and still walk away as friends at the end of the day. And I know that you can completely understand that, and it lacks in this world too.
No, absolutely, man. And I do want to tell you, first of all, you know, I want to commend you for your effort and just trying to be the best man that you could be.
Appreciate that, brother.
I know it's not easy for you. You know, I know you've created this platform. I know you've done interviews and you've had conversations. The other thing too is, like, you know, these are traumatic experiences for all of us, and it's not easy for us to, male or female, to just openly discuss and talk about things that could be paining or hurting you. So I want to tell you that I don't take it lightly, you know, even though you're doing it for, at this moment, you're using your platform to share and express, you know, these things, but you've allowed me to come into your space and to be a part of your world. And I don't take that lightly. I'm very humbled that, you know, you, even when we speak through direct message, you know, that you trust me in the way that you do to share, you know, some of those things with me. So I just want to tell you, you know, thank you. I want to acknowledge that because it is important.
I appreciate that, Josh, and it's likewise for me too, brother. Like, I know a lot of
Absolutely.
stuff it's probably hard for both of us to talk about, but I appreciate
And also I want you to, you know, if I could encourage in any way, I want to tell you that I want you to get your power back. I don't know what that looks like. Because again, you have a big heart. There are so many ways you can fight this battle. So you might have to pray about it and kind of figure out what that vision looks like. But, you know, get your power back. Get back to whom or what you want to be and how you want to do it. Don't lose yourself in this whole thing, because again, I don't know if you're talking to your child or your children. I don't know if you're able to have any type of access, but if you are, with whatever you get, maximize. And if you're not, just stay the course.
that's right. I agree, bud.
Do what you got to do. Write letters, journal, because that could be healing in itself.
That's right, for
And I'm
sure.
not saying that like it's an easy thing, but I'm also speaking from my experience, because I walk past empty rooms in my house. I walk past memorabilia, paintings, pictures, clothes, whatever, and it's like mourning somebody that is alive right down the street.
Yeah.
But because they're going through what they're going through, you have to allow that process to take.
That's
So
right.
you do what's best for you. I just want to encourage you to get your power back. And then lastly, which is the most important thing, my brother, I love you. I'm proud of you. I think that, it's beautiful what you're doing, how you're using your challenges to help educate or spark conversations that are needed or bridge the gap or bring people together. I was able to watch the live you did with Katina.
Yeah.
I was able to watch a little bit what you did with Hannah. Am I saying it right? Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and she's such a beautiful person.
That's what
She's
she's watching.
she's very knowledgeable. Just amazing across the board. I think the world of her and the fact that she's touching a topic that really not like I've heard about parental alienation a while ago, but to know that there's somebody out here that's like dedicated themselves to doing the work. And again, people like yourselves that are willing to go against the grain, willing to have the conversations, willing to open up. I just want to let you know, brother, you have a brother in me. I'm here to help in whatever way I can, which is why I was like, man, we got to jump on here tonight. I know
Yeah.
you wanted to do it. I don't want you to wait. But because of who's on here and who needs to see it, they'll see it.
That's right.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? And you get a chance to post this and it'll, like I said, it'll just help. It'll help people, and hopefully this conversation has helped give you a little bit more in the healing direction. You
Definitely.
know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing for me when I'm on my journey and I'm doing what I'm doing. It's all about healing and moving forward.
Yep.
And I'm trying to figure out how I could be the best man, husband, father, friend, whatever I could be. And it's an ongoing journey and an ongoing process. But I don't allow people, even the ones who I'm involved with, to dictate anything. I'm doing the things that I'm doing for me.
Yes.
You are a byproduct of that.
Yep.
So that means that no matter what you do, that doesn't change anything that I'm doing or how I'm feeling.
Yep.
I love you because I love you, not because of anything you're doing.
Yeah.
I literally chose and I choose to love you. I choose to care for you. That's my choice. Ain't got nothing to do with you. So,
More people need to think.
I just wanted to share that with you, brother. I know this is the first of many conversations. Please know if you need me for anything, I'm there. Let's keep building. I'm proud of you. I love you, brother. Stay the course. Get your power back, man. And I hope that this was an amazing live. I hope we were able to serve some people. And that's all I got. Mic drop.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I love you too, man. You're a huge inspiration for many people out there. Your foundation does great work. Keep up everything that you're doing. I will be in touch very shortly.
Please do, man. We can do a panel or a podcast or a discussion or a camp up your way.
Sounds good.
If you know some people, man, put it together, brother. We will come up there and we will do what we got to do.
All right.
And you know what? We can do a whole parent panel and we can get you up there in front of folks and we can just keep this thing going.
All right, brother. Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, brother.
Yeah, happen, bud.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, have a good night, Josh, and we'll talk soon, man.
You as well, brother. Later.
Later, buddy. All right, buddy. Everybody. Man, that was one hell of a conversation. That's just how I'm going to put it. Man, that guy's got a big heart. And most of you know that. And again, we're just two guys who have similarities when dealing with family court. And we're brought together because of unity, because we're compassionate, and because we understand. Might have taken me 2 years to get this point across to people, but it's never late than never. that's one thing that I had to learn was patience. And I know that everybody dealing with the family court system, you're going to need patience. So take it from me. You can be patient. And like Josh said, you can take back your power. So everybody, I hope you enjoyed tonight's talk. It was a little bit emotional. I got some goosebumps, but these are conversations that we're going to continue to have because we have to be the voice for the voiceless. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. I will post this as soon as I can, and we'll talk soon.